Men of Reddit, what is the biggest I am a princess red flag? Over the winter I worked with a girl who would say to everyone girls hate me because I am cute and steal their boyfriend. I tried to avoid her after that. Girls hate you because you are a bee. When her mother says, boys just flock around her like bees around honey, she agrees with a big smile. Respect for her autistic brother responding with, you mean like flies around shit. My wife's maiden name was King. She maintains she is a princess by definition. Can't argue with her logic. Based on your working, I assume that she changed her name when she married you. By that logic, you could argue that she abdicated. I was dating this girl that absolutely loved KFC's fried chicken. While she was in the shower one time, I decided to run to KFC and surprise her with a quick little meal. I did not get mashed potatoes, never really cared for their take on mashed taters. She threw me out upon finding out there were no mashed potatoes. Threw me out. Talks about how much she hates the 200 marble iPhone case her mom bought her. Constantly calls her brand new MacBook Pro a posh just because she doesn't know how to use it. Then proceeds to throw it around and drop it all the time. Breaks the 200 marble iPhone case. Excited when mom buys her a new one. Yeah, I didn't stick around. Refusing to do something on the grounds that she is too good for it. Not taking out the garbage, cleaning a bathtub, whatever. Nobody's too good to be humble and helpful. Anyone who thinks they are is an asshole. A girl that was in my friends group got really angry when I talked about potentially moving houses and I said that I would ask everyone including her for some help, pizzas and beer guaranteed. Of course, she ain't batshit crazy about how girls do not do these kind of things and it is rude to even think about asking her. The other girls were livid. Referring to herself as a princess, or, I can really be a diva, but cutesy smirk gotta love me. Number no I do not. After going out a few times, woman man, I have gone so overboard spending lately. Hey, can you take care of my credit card debt for me? Me, silent, looking at her oddly trying to decide if this is a bad joke. Woman I mean, you could be a sugar daddy. Couldn't you? Me number I am not that old yet nor wealthy, and I would not be even if I were. Woman you don't want to be my sugar daddy. That was the end of that relationship. One of my best friends had a girlfriend once say she likes to have nicer things than other people, but doesn't want to work so he needs to have a good job. Same girl also said she should come before family and God. I am not religious but that is still pretty nuts for people who are, wish they were. Throwing a tantrum and being pissed at your boyfriend for not proposing in the right way. Knew a girl who did this exact thing. We have a tradition at our university where you propose under this huge tree on campus. Only some people do it, not everyone. She literally threw a tantrum even though he planned a sweet proposal that would have pleased any other girl just because he didn't do it under the ducky tree. Edit: she was a graduate student and he was working. Usually having princess written across the rear of their pink sweatpants is a dead giveaway. In the 90s it was a big trend to have princess written down one leg of the track pants. I made myself a pair in black with Grakor written down the side in red letters in the princess font. I am starting to remember why my parents considered me to be such a huge disappointment. Any girl who blames their attitude actions on their zodiac sign. I don't care if you are a Taurus Lexi. You are being a ducking bitch. Edit: probably should have clarified that I am a woman. Punishing you, silent treatment, etc. In public, especially in front of friends. Bet you can't handle me, bitch. Dating you should not be a challenge. Duck out of here with that shit. Bet you can't handle me. I bet you can't handle yourself. This will be buried but it will be good to get off my chest. I once dated a girl who had a dad that bought her everything. He made a lot of money and was really great at saving it. His life's mission was to use that money to buy his bitchy daughter's love. She was 22 and had her car paid for in full, insurance, phone bill, rent-free living, yada yada. For her birthday every year she would get 1,000 in cash. I on the other hand was 23 at the time and paid for everything I owned. I had a crappier car than her because I paid for it myself. She would remind me often of how much better her car was. I paid for all my other expenses and bills. Then this insane thing happens. She gets a job at the bank I have all my ex at. SHE ducking looks up my bank account to see how much money I have. She tells me this and criticizes that I only have XXXXAMT in the bank when she has XXXXXI in the bank and is so much better than me at saving money. I never once in our whole relationship brought up the money issue or how she did not really work for what she had. This time though, I lost my ducking mind. I mentioned everything she had that she didn't pay for and explained that if it was not for daddy she would be a boulder 20k in debt. This blow-up fight was the biggest I have had in any relationship. Our relationship ended there. I learned a valuable lesson here. Always date someone who has similar work ethic and financial goals as yourself. I realized that I always resented her and can admit I was jealous of her getting handed money. That is not right nor is it healthy. I am happily married to a very hard-working woman who will help me raise a hard-working child. Really liked this girl in high school. She literally took my breath away. I thought she was so beautiful. We had a good rapport in class and I thought I had a decent chance, so I worked my ass off for 2 months straight doing odd jobs in order to save up enough money to take her on a proper date. My mom was a single parent barely making ends meet and I was 15 at the time, so I couldn't get a real job. Once I had saved up enough money, my plan was to take her to see this movie she said she had been wanting to see, some horrible thing that had Sandra Bullock and Bill not Paxton Pullman in it. While you were sleeping maybe. I don't really remember. It was a long time ago. Anyway, after the movie I was going to take her to this local restaurant called Gilbert's. It was the nicest place in town. Tiffany lamps over all the tables, nude paintings on the wall. No way you were getting out of there with less than a 50 bill. And this was back in the late 80s early 90s. Date night rolls around and I go to pick her up and 2 of her female friends are coming along for the ride. I had not been apprised of this, but whatever. I was pretty easygoing back then, so I rolled with it. We get to the movie theater and they don't have any money, so I am paying for all 4 of us. The 2 tag-alongs both wanted popcorn and drinks and I must have gotten a look on my face because the girl of my dreams gave me a semi-playful rebuke like, "What? They can't have popcorn? Come on." So, I cave, wincing as every dollar leaves my quickly dwindling date fund. I had enough extra that we would both still be able to go eat at Gilbert's as long as I was careful with my purchase. I had to forego popcorn and a drink of my own, but it was not a big deal. Movie ends and I explain that dinner really needs to be just the 2 of us, and she basically tells me that is not happening. As a result we end up having to go to this greasy spoon little dive in a strip mall. At this point the comments about what a cheap date I am start to get dropped in conversation in front of me. I have to sit there and listen to how horrible the food is, and how if I had really wanted to impress her I should have taken her somewhere nice. All 3 of them are sitting on one side of the booth and I am sitting on the other, so it is like a ducking tribunal of shame. I am trying to just laugh it off, but I could feel my face flushing. I don't say anything about the unexpected extra people I am paying for. I just smile and say, maybe next time. Then they start talking about how bad the movie was and it really was awful, and suddenly the idea to go see that particular movie has become mine, even though she had been wanted to see it for weeks. And now I am listening to how wrong everything is at the restaurant we are eating at. The food is shitty, the silverware is dirty, the floor has not been swept in days, it smells like onions and old people, etc., etc. I got to be honest, by the end of the night I was struggling to hold back tears. I was ashamed, but even more I was angry. This girl had no idea how hard I had worked in order to treat her to a nice date, and how her thoughtlessness had made that date impossible to realize. I realized how vapid and shallow she was. She and both of her friends. Zero consideration for how hard I had worked, and even less for how I had planned the evening to go. But she taught me a valuable lesson that night. People who complain about things given to them for free are literally the worst people in existence, and as far as I am concerned they can all go die in a ducking fire. Same for people who show no consideration for the feelings and expectations of others. Both are huge red flags. basically comes down to self-absorbed inconsideration. The hallmarks of a princess if ever I saw one. Edit holy crap. Figured this would be one of my usual buried comments and woke up to a dead inbox and read it gold thank you. 5 kind strangers. To the folks defending while you were sleeping, I apologize. If it is any consolation, that was not the movie we saw. As I said, it was a long time ago and memory ain't what it used to be. We actually saw Staying Together. Me culpa. I was confusing a freshman year high school date with a freshman year college date. For those wondering about the fallout from the date, we never had a second one. However, much later, at our 10-year reunion she cornered me while drunk and told me that I was the nicest guy she ever dated and the reason she ultimately stopped dating assholes. So, even though it did not seem like it at the time, she did appreciate the effort I went through and what I tried to do. Small consolation maybe, but it was nice of her to say, "Thank you all for the consolations, kind words, jokes, anecdotes, insults, and general botany. It is appreciated." Oh, this doesn't completely go with the question but it fits well enough. Senior year of high school prom was coming up and this one girl who I kinda knew asked my friend if he would go to prom with her. He said yes, but a few days later changed his mind, which was a 100% dick thing to do. She however really wanted someone to go to prom and the guy that turned her down, along with some of my other mutual friends, told me I should go with her, which sounded like a good idea because she was kinda cute and I was going alone at that point. A week or so later a few of us were hanging out at Nifty 50s and they gave us those little paper hat things. And I wrote prom on mine and she said yes. Sick. On the way home from asking her out, she said to me, "So how does it feel knowing that you are going to prom with the birthday princess?" First red flag. Upon further conversation she told me that prom was going to be on her 18th birthday and because of that she was definitely going to get prom queen, which would most likely be the absolute last reason I did want to get prom queen in her situation. Fast forward a week or so, I had just gotten home from school and I got a text from her asking if I wanted to go with her to pick out her shoes for prom. I should tell you all that halfway through my senior year one moved to another school district 40-ish minutes away and my date lived like 15 minutes on the other side of the school. Not to mention that the car I drove was a gas-guzzling machine and it was like 10 round trip when prices were high. I tried telling her that I had just gotten home and that it would take me an hour or so to get there and I had work that needed to get done. I also had zero interest in going, but that is beside the point. Reasonable excuse, I thought. She lost it. She was saying all this stuff about how messed up it is that I would not do this for her and other random stuff that totally didn't make sense. She then said, "I guess I will just ask Anthony to go with me." Anthony was a close friend of mine who had off and on feelings for my date and they were close friends. There was a reason he didn't ask her but I can't remember. I told her to go ahead because that didn't bother me. I was not trying to date the girl, heck I was not even trying to get laid. I purely asked her out because she was dying to go to prom with someone and I was single. Flash forward to day of prom. A few days before prom she asked if she should get a tan. I told her I really don't like that look, especially not awful spray tan. The day of prom she showed up, looking like a carrot and her hands looked like that of a black person. Her tan was bad, uneven, blotchy, you name it. She was proud of it though, so who was I to tell her otherwise? She said, "How does the birthday princess look?" And I told her she looked beautiful. She also told me at that time where to meet her and her friends who I was now taking, which was news to me, but I bit my tongue and went along with it. I get to her friend's house 5 minutes early, and she is 45 minutes late. When she finally arrived she was wearing a tiara that read birthday princess. Her and her friend probably took 100 pics together, and me and the other dude who I hated but by the end of the night found out he was actually pretty cool just sat to the side waiting for our turn for the pics. I think we took 3 together. Now when I tell people this part of the story they get confused because apparently my school was weird. We had this thing called pre-prom where basically we had go up on stage in the auditorium, walk out with our date, get pictures taken, and get judged for prom king queen. People do little cute things on stage in order to gain approval and to get more votes. Some funny, some cute, Some just walked out like normal. What she made us do is she walks on stage first looking around. I creep up behind her with a huge happy birthday balloon so everyone knew it was her birthday. Tap her on the shoulder. And when she had turned around, I did be on one knee and put a sash on her that read birthday princess. It was cheesy. It was uncomfortable. I hated it. Prom time. So we get to prom and take our seat. We eat a little and then people start going on the dance floor. I ask if she wants to go dance but she says she is not feeling well and I should just go. I obliged and danced for a good 20 minutes and when I look at her sitting down she looks very upset. I notice her staring at the boy who turned her down dancing with another girl, and I felt bad for her. I went up to her and told her to come to the floor and have fun with everyone and she, again says she is fine. A half hour passes before I walk up to her. She looks at me dead in the eyes and before I can say anything she snaps and says you really need to learn when to leave me heck alone. Well then, I leave her at the table and go hang out with friends. People keep coming up to me asking where my date is, and then someone asks why is she crying. The questions then turned to what did you do to her. It got to the point where even teachers and school faculty pulled me over asking if I did anything to upset her. An hour passes and it is time to announce prom king and queen. I sat down again and she calmed down by this point. She was telling the whole table how she has to be prom queen because it is her birthday and she is the birthday princess. I told her not to get her hopes up just in case it didn't happen, and she didn't like that at all. She was not prom queen, she was not even nominated. She ran out of the room crying. After it was announced and people started dancing again, I went up to the aforementioned Anthony and told him if he wanted to dance with my date he could. He told me he would feel bad and didn't want to do that to me, but I assured him it would be fine. I look over a little later, notice them slow dancing and that was the happiest I had been all night. I then went off to dance with some of the other girls who didn't have dates and for once prom was fun. Too bad it ended 20 minutes later. As everyone is gathering their things and clearing out, my date finds me again and says I feel like you are upset with me. I didn't say a word. She asked if we could go to Applebee's because it is her birthday and they love singing to her every year. First I told her she was not special. They do that to everyone. That was a real slap in the face to her. Secondly, I told her by the time we got there we would only have 15 minutes before it closed. She told me that as long as we're before it is closed we can stay there. As someone who was working as a dishwasher at the time, I knew how much of a dick move that was. She said please. But I am the birthday princess. I refused. The drive home was one of the most uncomfortable car rides of my life. Every time we passed a restaurant, do you think Denny's would sing to me? Do you think the diner would sing to me? Do you think McDonald's would sing to me? I have never met someone, yet alone an 18-year-old who was so obsessed with their birthday. I pulled up to her other friend's house. A bunch of people were going here after prom to hang out and we all got out. As I was walking up the driveway I got the thought, what the heck am I doing? I walked back to my car and drove away. Too long didn't read while she wanted to feel like a princess. I felt like 2017 Prince. Edit. I am glad my source of trauma can be of enjoyment to some people. I just remembered something else that happened pertaining this event. The day of prom at school, I asked my friend if he wanted to hang out after prom. He told me he was not going because he was going to ask out the girl I was going with and didn't want to go alone. Fast forward a few months, I had not spoken to the girl I want to prom with since I drove away. Literally not a word. It was the day of graduation and my one friend was having a graduation party. I went and lo and behold my date was there. A group of us started talking and out of nowhere she said, you know, the way you asked me to prom was cool. But the way that the kid who didn't end up going to prom because I was going with her would have asked me would have been so much better. His plan was going to be to get the show White at Disney to ask this girl to prom because she was obsessed with show White. Like she cried on senior trip at Disney when she saw her because she was so overwhelmed with excitement. Maybe the first red flag should have been that she was obsessed with princesses. Oh my god, she sounds like a nightmare. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video and if you want to see more of Reddit universe.